Hi, everyone, and welcome to one more episode of Nova Talks. We have John Frederick with us today. John, please introduce yourself.
Hey, Hamlin, my name's John Frederick. I'm founder and CEO of Freddie Media.
Awesome. Tell us a bit about John and Freddie Media.
Yeah, I'm basically a car guy. In a different life, I managed Toyota stores, and then through a series of events, I ended up starting a talent management company that's really kind of ventured in a few different directions. Now we have a large marketing business, and we also have a large training company. And we serve and consult with a lot of automotive dealers, a lot of automotive tech startups, and we play a lot in the automotive space. But through our partnerships with high profile industry facing creators that would be like Chris Kerner in the entrepreneurial space or Braden Shaw in the financial space, we kind of venture into those verticals as well.
Awesome. So you went from being the frontline guy selling cars to now on the marketing front and creating campaigns for dealerships to do them themselves, right? Is that so?
Hell yeah, I sold cars up at Tyson's Toyota in Northern Virginia. I grew up, I worked for Jim Coons, kind of like a Hall of Fame car guy. He had 30 stores in DC and Baltimore, and that's like about as big as the OEMs will ever let people get nowadays. So Jim Coons outright owned like one of the best privately held dealership groups in the world. I was lucky enough to come up under him, which is, a blessing and a curse. He worked for like a really intense entrepreneur, but I think everything I've learned or my habits and my discipline and my drive have all been derived by being like a 22-year-old held to the standards of what is a billionaire dealership owner.
And is this something that you always wanted to dive into? Did you have a passion for cars in particular?
No, I just have a passion for kind of like making deals and interfacing with people and staying busy. That's what I like about it. The dealership business is great. You can make a ton of money. I think your followers would be interested to know that the guy running your local dealership down the street from you is likely making $1 million a year, if not more. So it's a very lucrative career. And, it's kind of Narnia if you can crack it. The trade-offs are nights, weekends, and holidays. And then, I I worked like a nut, and I actually ended up leaving the Coons Group and leaving automotive retail when I was 28. I just had a kid. I had a bit of a health scare. I moved to the beach in Florida and then got like a clean bill of health. So after kind of like escaping automotive retail and thinking like my life was, kind of over, by the grace of God, I got a like perfectly good diagnosis, and it really changed my trajectory, and it kind of forced me down this path of finding a way to make business or make money on my own volition, no longer be an employee, and start from zero and see what the hell I could make out of it.
So how did you actually get started? Can you walk us through that journey?
Yes, so I had left Coons and I was surfing. I am a surfer, so I live in Florida at the beach. A guy I surf with had a call center that was offshore in Nicaragua. And it was right around COVID, and all the people couldn't work in the car dealers, and he was selling direct to consumer automotive warranties. And I said, "Hey dude, I think we could turn that into a call center, setting service and sales appointments for car dealerships." And then I researched a little bit, found some telephonies that would give it a technological advantage, and we were using, selling Nicaraguan sales agents to dealerships for like $15 an hour. And the dealerships that bought it were on the automotive news 150 top biggest list, but I don't think they'll ever admit that they did. And I was selling it into those guys, and then I got hired by like a cool startup out of Israel, and one I was like first sales guy there, and it was a cool concept, like a CDP, kind of like Clavio, but for the car business. And effectively, one day a Twitter account mentioned that company. And Twitter account was nascent, had 80,000 followers, but I made like $250,000 in commission from that in a month. And then I took that tweet and I sent it to a large dealer group, publicly traded dealer group, one of the top three biggest ones. And the person who opened that email saw the tweet, reacted to it, booked appointment with me, bought it for that whole group. So I was kind of sitting back to back months, more money than I ever made in my entire life, realizing that there was one Twitter account out there that basically was the demand valve for the entire automotive industry. So I ended up partnering with that business and bringing it to fruition. I was kind of found like helped start that business, get it off the ground, and take it to a really neat place. And what I liked about it was B2B advertising value. I thought was kind of displacing in-person events or like press releases or cringy LinkedIn posts. And then additionally, if you publish to industry, you can really host a suite of professional services. And that's what I fell in love with. And I ended up, you know, I had a great run with that Twitter account. And then I left it to start my own business where I effectively run back that playbook with industry facing creators.
But this time, I'm sure you got a bigger piece of the pie when you're running your own.
Oh yeah, no, it's neat to do it for yourself. It's not even necessarily a bigger piece of the pie. You just get to work with more people
Mhm.
because we took that Twitter account to a point where it was a large industry publication. So like whoever was going to be doing my role for it, you just had to be like head down. That's the only thing you want to do. Where we signed a guy like Russ Flips Whips. He was like the first guy that I signed, right? And effectively, I thought Russ was going to be like doing cars.com advertisements with me or selling, consumer products. And we had a really cool moment the first time I met him. We ordered a pizza. And the police, I'm watching Clemson football. Russ is, going to the door to grab the pizza. And a pizza delivery guy walks through the door and the guy says, "Holy shit, you're Russ Flips Whips. I've been trying to blow up on TikTok." And I'm not paying attention, but in the background, Russ is grabbing the phone and telling a pizza delivery guy how to edit on CapCut and how to do a hook. And there's like a, Francis Ford Coppola session going on while I'm like watching a football game. And then I think nothing of it. He sends the guy on his way. And then the two of us are sitting on the couch an hour later. He hands me the phone, 500,000 views on that video. And I said, "Okay, like what's going on? Am I standing before a savant?" And he said, "No, it's actually very replicable. If you do hooks correctly, if you orient the content towards your business, if you do this and that, you can really have something." And actually, Dave Portnoy reviewed that guy's pizza restaurant because of that video. And then, so it kind of clicked for Russ and I said, "Hey, man, let's try and productize this and like consult with some dealerships." And the first dealer group that invited us in, we downloaded all of their social media. I mean, they have employees now that have like 160,000 followers. Their rooftop account has like 80,000.
Wow.
So we've been able to kind of replicate success at all the dealerships that we've worked with. But that's an example of how I will take an influencer and instead of kind of like only looking at them as advertising value, I really try to build around them and see if we can build something with enterprise value and kind of, take on whatever's currently out there.
Yeah, so brands definitely play a huge role. And right now, I would say personal branding, it seems to be people's main focus.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much you've noticed online how big micro influencing is becoming and
Yeah.
how individuals, small creators are able to make generate some revenue to really push them forward in their own personal lives. And you took advantage of that as well to create this enterprise that you currently run. Now,
How how's that for you? Do you crack that in your sales career? Are you publishing on LinkedIn and attempting that?
yeah, so we have our methods as a company and then individually as well to push our personal brands, and we feel that that's the best way to connect with people. A lot of the times, lifestyle sells, so showing them what the day-to-day looks like. We love to vlog our current days, our team and me, just our sales calls, what we do, where we get lunch, and showing them that there's a lot of normality to this, and we find that to be very relatable.
Do you find the videos that you try to create are different types? Like I see humor for growth. And then like, you want insight for growth as well. And then when you do make an ask, that kind of like nobody really deserves to make an ask on social media, but when you do, that sort of like conversion style content is always the trickier one.
I think those are things that we're currently exploring. Truthfully, I'm not the biggest when it comes to this on my team. We have our marketing gurus here who take care of that, and I'm very grateful to just be a part of it and kind of just observe from the background. But I'm learning here. I'm sure that they've cracked some code because we've been getting some views. On the personal side, for me, I'm still working on building up my brand, but that's what we have the team here for.
I'm kind of on the other side where I feel like I put in so much work to build my own spot. I've got about 10,000 followers on LinkedIn, and that was hard earned. But
Hmm.
now I'm at a point where I think the best outcome for myself would be if Freddie Media was kind of a faceless publication, not like Barstool Sports, but in a way where I'm sharing insight about entrepreneurialism, industry, media, tech, automotive, just from this account, and then that would flywheel my marketing business and my training business and my talent management.
It's all interconnected, isn't it?
Yeah, they do feed the other. I mean, it is an industry where you could start with a small influencer, deal with a company, and then you can take on their marketing, and then you can train them, and they refer you in. So it is, I say it a lot, but it's kind of Narnia if you can get in there.
For sure, man. And I know that you had lots of success. It seems that your journey has been quite an incredible one, but I know that it wasn't all just upward trajectory. Could you talk to us about some of the rough patches that you've had?
Yeah, I would say two in particular. One, I was 26 years old at Coons, and I was the general sales manager of a store. I was making maybe like 400 grand. I was doing pretty well for a guy in the mid 20s. And if you had known kind of like how much I had dedicated my life to it, it was everything. And out of nowhere, I had a seizure, and I had a doctor tell me that I had like a brain tumor. So my wife looked at me, and and in the moment, you think you're like, I've never had a health problem in my life. And my wife was like, we got to get out of the car business. Like, if you're going to die, let's go live at the beach. So
Hmm.
effectively, I moved to Jacksonville, bought a house at the beach, burned a car career to the ground, and then I got a clean bill of health, which was like completely amazing. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I mean, the outcome, you think in the moment your life's over, but the doctor said to me, he was like, hey, if I think that if a guy who has symptoms like you never drinks and gets enough sleep and never gets hungry and takes his medication, I think you could never have a seizure again in your life. And he was the only doctor who said that to me. Every other doctor was like, oh, your life's over. Like, you can't drive, all this stuff. And I just like obeyed what this one guy told me. And I mean, knock on wood, thank God, like I haven't had a seizure since. And people have told me it's like the best epilepsy outcome they've ever seen. So I'm very thankful for that experience because there's a lot of blessings in life that come from
Hmm.
resetting your priorities and like understanding what your North Star is. And that was something that I experienced at 26 that I feel like a lot of people don't get that until later in life. And then another thing is when I left Coons, we had family members start up a food franchise here in Jacksonville. And I kind of used it as like a bridge. I used it as like come down, work on that, get it started, and it's like everything you think it would be. Doing business with family, difficult, like, bootstrapped company, not a lot of financial resources. But the cool part was, even though it was a food franchise, it was like business to business. So it was kind of a catering company, business to business. And I looked and I got to meet all the people who ran franchises around the country. And I saw that they were kind of like door knocking, collecting credit cards, dropping off samples, stuff like that. And they weren't collecting any customer data. So I said, hey guys, the automotive industry does the same thing, but we centralize everything to a CRM. We connect our ordering service. We, also connect our advertising. And I was able to kind of spin that up around the franchise, implement HubSpot, build it out. I didn't know what the hell HubSpot was. I only knew automotive CRMs like
Hmm.
Reynolds. So I got really good at building out HubSpot. And then on the side, I started doing it for law firms or other businesses that also use HubSpot. So I got pulled into this like competency that people would start paying me like five to $10,000 to build their HubSpot on the side. So when I decided to go start my own business, like that call center, or I was also taking money with HubSpot consulting, and all of this kind of allowed me to do an MBA at University of Florida. That was like something that I felt like I should do to challenge myself and make sure I still kind of had my fastball after I got
Hmm.
brain zapped through a seizure. So these were the sort of things that I could do on the side while I was, moving forward and progressing myself.
So how pivotal was it having a support system during these rough patches? Your wife, your family, your
Yeah, man.
team.
I don't know if you're married. Are you married?
No, not yet.
Yeah, you're like having a wife through that is crucial. Like it would be so different. It'd be so lonely if you didn't. You have like 2 years of scans, right? Where you're just staring at the ceiling, kind of like really high anxiety. Kind of having a partner in life for that is something that's like game changing, and you almost couldn't do it without. And then when you coincide that with like having a child, and then
Hmm.
the stakes are higher. But now I'm like a father of two little girls. We all live at the beach. I mean, think about this. Like I was a workaholic. I still am, but I was inside the DC Beltway. Now I'm doing the same thing, and I never thought I could make more money than I ever was in DC. If you asked me a million years, I'd say, no, man, this is the best way to make money. I'm on the track to be like the king of the car business.
Hmm.
I've been forced down this other path, and it's better. Like I went surfing this morning. I'm going to take my kid to ballet later today. Like I have a balanced lifestyle, and in the moment I thought I had lost everything, but I like didn't know that it actually had gotten.
That blessing in disguise was true in this case here. And now, I mean, I believe you have what we all yearn for. Most people believe it's money, most people believe it's success, but it's having that familial structure in place that kind of gives you purpose. Is that what you say what your purpose is?
Yeah, man. I like two little girls and a wife. My wife is really smart. My wife has better business than me. She has like a large wealth management firm. But the two of us both kind of we both work, we both raise our kids, and we get to live here in like what I think is the most fun place in the world.
So we're going to transition the conversation a little bit more towards what our audience here is interested in hearing. Uh,
Yeah.
how much does AI currently play into your current workflows?
In our workflows, we use it for a little bit of follow up. It kind of allows me to function as if I have like a BDR team when I'm really just kind of using a functional, AI agent. And then we consult with car dealers a lot or vendors that are selling to car dealers on how we could implement AI into their business. A lot of car dealers right now are using advertising or AI in their advertising because it's relatively modular and the clickbacks or like the feedback loop you get can optimize advertising, especially in automotive where, it's basically a combination of image, price, car. So you can kind of optimize very easily. And then email follow up is largely done through AI in automotive. And the telephonies, service and sales appointments are often done by automotive. I told you before the call, I'm a venture investor and I had one pop, I had an AI investment pop, and that doesn't always happen. But at the same time, my belief is because we've automated away so much of the variable and fixed operation careers in automotive. Now the dealership operates a little leaner, but you still need to staff up for the busiest day of the week. So
Which
therefore,
is?
you got a lot of guys sitting on their hands Monday through Friday. And what's a good use of their time while they're doing that? I think all these companies implement AI, go all in on AI. If you're a real estate, everything, every industry it works for, but then complement it with empowering your employees to create content for, basically a groundswell of user generated content and consumer.
So more using AI to empower teams rather than to replace them. That seems to be the biggest concern right now.
Well, it's like it's that is a good use of their time, but it's basically a lot of it's replacing email follow-up, phone call handling, appointment making, stuff like that. So if that is getting done by these guys, and then basically your closers are handling qualified calls now through when they're not doing that, or the other, maybe you can run with less closers, less SDRs, but at the same time, like if you have the same amount of people and they've got more time on their hands, and teach them how to do content that drives inbound demand for your business, because everybody has an audience.
So given that you're in venture capital, you obviously see a positive future for AI. If we were to scan just 5 years into the future, what do you see the landscape being?
Well,
It's
one
a
of the
loaded
biggest
question.
frustrations in my life is negotiating with brands, calling you and saying, "Hey, Hamley, like, let's do an influencer engagement." And then I turn around to the influencer and basically negotiate the deal. But I mean, I kind of work in a different way where I productize and price all turnkey engagements, but still it can get pretty tenuous and pretty, tough negotiation. So what I'm looking at is like, look at Google VO, right? Like they're creating these kind of like image, basically movie on demand. And that threatens the influencer game, which is fine. But it's kind of a race to who becomes the best at wielding that. Who is the best at like whispering into the machine, creating really cool UGC that's AI driven, and who can become, the Steven Spielberg of these, video AI components that are going to spin up short form in a really compelling way. And the best vindication I saw when that giant viral product drop released,
Mhm.
the use case was at an automotive trade show. And I was like,
Was it really?
I've long known that. That is the honey hole to go like unleash product. That's where every year I'll pull $1 million out of an automotive trade show because it's money. It's money like unlike anything else.
That's awesome, man. And that there is both exciting and scary because we just don't know in which direction it's going to go in the long term. But all I can say is that, as you mentioned, whoever learns to wield this technology will see great success.
Yeah.
Um, and I do want to mention as well, when it comes to people mentioning the transfer of wealth, I think this does give many people the opportunity to make it big, to make an impact and start new companies.
Yeah, I mean, up until a year ago, it was really only the technical founder that could create something extremely high leverage. You had to either have a great financial aptitude, engineering aptitude, or tech aptitude. Otherwise, you were kind of like, smashing rocks with hammers. So now, maybe I don't know you that well, but I know that I'm more like talk than tech. But if I can suddenly learn how to use this strategically, then I can scale something very, I am. I'm kind of like building weird things like that.
That is no worries. We can edit this part out. This is
No, you're good.
one second. I had a bit of a technical difficulty here. Can you hear me fine? It's showing that I'm getting feedback.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah, that's good. Sorry for the break here. You started sounding a bit low towards my end, so I want to make sure that the audio is working well.
Test it. So your AI that you guys sell is a telephony, and then have you what verticals do you serve? Have you like attempted automotive yet?
Yeah, so we've attended automotive. We work with several dealerships across the nation.
Wow. How do you like from a guy that's like less dealership oriented, that's kind of more industry agnostic, what do you think of serving dealerships?
Honestly, we believe it's a great place to service. If you think about it, there's lots of volumes of calls being placed all throughout the day. Usually, what we hear from our clients is that sales reps might not have enough time to reach their phones. Someone might be calling in while they're doing a viewing, but don't have the time to pick up the phone, and they regard that as a lost sale. That's someone on the other line who might have gone to a different dealership who had the time to pick up the phone at that moment. So what we allow is for them to create their own AI receptionists. We have the dealership able to create their secretaries and essentially a system in place where people can get the service. Meanwhile, those who are in person showing up can also receive their service as well.
Have you guys found automotive difficult to serve, or have you found the technology integrations difficult to mess with, or has it all been smooth sailing?
So the integrations isn't too difficult. I think the most difficult part here is sort of enlightening people on what the technology can do. They hear AI and most people see red lights. It's like an impending doom. However, once they get their hands on it, they hear what it sounds like and what it can do for them. It really does change their perspective.
Do you guys use your own AI? I always wonder this. Do you eat your own dog food? Do you use your own AI for outbound
Oh,
prospecting?
100%. I like to say that we drink our own Kool-Aid, and you have to. The technology is so powerful that it wouldn't make sense for us not to utilize it.
Mm.
And we use it in a number of ways. Not only is it just for outbound calling, we have for inbound purposes if people want to inquire about our technology, what it can do, who we service, pricing structures.
You just
And
on the best sales guy at the company? Is that what you do? You just train it on whoever's the best?
so not quite. So it's fully prompt based. So of course it has its script, it's knowledge based, but truthfully, it's not based on any one particular person. But we have dozens of agents that do different tasks. The majority of them have the same exact knowledge base, and what we do is that we tweak the script. So you feed it, if you want one to be an SDR, of course, it'll have more of a sales script. But if one is a customer service agent, it's more geared towards answering FAQs, and it has the optionality to live transfer to a human rep if you can't answer any particular question. So what we've done is, as you mentioned earlier, created a team of employees. That's all automated, that's all AI.
Hmm.
And that allows for us to expand and run leaner, as you mentioned earlier.
I like that. I yeah, that's really interesting. That's cool that you use it.
Yeah, you need to. It's the easiest way. What we like to do is add it to our ad sets. And I'm sure it's to some degree you're probably doing something similar. If someone were to inquire because they found you on Instagram ad or on YouTube, what we like to do is as soon as they inquire, they submit the lead form, we have the AI give them a call.
Mm,
And immediately right off the bat, they get their first experience. That AI's goal is to book an appointment directly with them. And if things go well, it's connected to my calendar. It gets sent, I get the confirmation, they receive confirmation, and thereafter they receive a series of automations, emails, text messages with webinars, FAQs, even a prompt script that they can play around with so they can demo on our platform, all before they reach me to have the full conversation.
that's strong. We should use you on
Yeah,
Freddie Media and the training company. The
that'd be
problem,
awesome.
the training company, Russ, can drive leads from dealers. He did one social media post last week. I mean, I don't
Mm.
know how hard it is to get a dealer to call you. He did one social media post. We got 800 dealer inquiries. We were like, it was so hard.
Well, what's awesome is that the AI can definitely handle that volume of calls all at the same time because it does simultaneous calling.
Yeah, no, that's really neat. So, what's next for you? Like, what do you guys building anything crazy?
So honestly, our main focus here is to continue to grow this aspect of the business. We don't want to expand and diverge into different paths because we want to be the best voice conversational AI platform in the world. That's the goal. Once we've achieved a decent level of success, we'll probably incorporate chatbot, AI chatbots, and uh, AI email is incorporated as well. But that is in due time.
I was like the sales guy at a company that was the first company to incorporate GPT into their dealership chat tool. And it had a viral moment. I don't know if you remember this on like Reddit and everything, but somebody found out that like the paid version of Chat GPT 3 was embedded into a Chevrolet store's chat tool. And it went viral because people were like asking it to do, like extreme equations and stuff like that, and then basically posting it. So we were one of like the first companies to kind of like step in it without knowing it using AI.
That's incredible. And what were the results for you?
You know what? Everybody thought it was like end of the world in the moment. You're like, oh, but like the dealers are very understanding. They thought it was kind of funny, like that's the benefit of selling to dealers. They're not like they're normal people.
Yeah, it's not like dealing with a large corporation with all
Well,
these rules
you,
and sticklers.
it is tough, but like, you can still have a conversation with the owner.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, John, if you can leave us with one nugget, one piece of advice for the listeners out there, what would that be?
Yeah, I would say I had a stepfather who was a great entrepreneur and he built a pretty cool company. And at the end of his life, he said to me, he said, you know what, John, I always thought I had to live in Baltimore because I needed to be in proximity of Johns Hopkins University. And he went there and he thought it was the best engineering school. And if he was going to have an engineering company, I had to be near them because whatever, had to recruit from there. And he said, you know what, that was completely wrong. What I should have done was just move to the place that I loved the most and then just figured out how to build a business from there. If you're smart and driven and have, faith in yourself, you can pull that off. And that was ultimately what I needed to hear to like move to the beach in Florida and kind of start here. And both my wife was at Price Waterhouse, I was at Coons, we were making a large combined income. Never thought we could recreate that in basically what is like a tier 3 city. And we've been able to do better, and that's something you basically never anticipate. But if you have the faith to go move somewhere great and figure it out from there, I think it's a better life.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Please let us know where our audience can find you.
On X, we're Freddie Media, John Frederick on LinkedIn. Follow Russ Flips Whips. Follow George Saliba, Bens and Bowties, Chris Kerner, Braden Shaw. We have like a really cool creator roster. And, just follow along for our crazy ad integrations with brands.
Thank you so much for hopping on this call, man. This is an incredible conversation.
Thanks, Emily. Good to see you.
Likewise.